What's up, guys? Welcome back. And in this series, we are going to build a fully functional classified ads website. Now, you've already heard of sites like classifiedads.com, and you've also heard of things like Craigslist. We're going to build something that looks like that, but with a better interface and something that looks like this. This is the interface. Now, this particular interface is in the link in the description below, and basically we'll create things like the categories, the ads, how will people post ads, and we'll also create how do we view individual ads, how do you view personal details of a particular user, and things like that. How do you view the ads posted by individual user? And just to tell, okay, we'll create a message section. This will be last part, probably the notifications and many other things just in place. Now, before that, okay, with that being said, we'll use this particular beautiful package called Laravel admin. If you haven't checked on our beginner series back then, you should check on building a blog with Laravel admin. In few minutes time you'll be done and dusted. And in fact, its description is saying build a fully functional admin backend in less than 10 minutes. Now, with that being said, let's create a new project, a new Laravel project over here. So we'll have composer, create project, and then it's a Laravel project, right? Now, one thing that you should notice is that, let me just cancel whatever I was doing. If you fail to give a name over here, this last part, by default you'll have a folder called Laravel, but I really need to have a folder called ads, so I should really add ads over there, so that finally the folder will be called ads over there soon. But initially it's called Laravel as observed over there. Now it will take a little bit of time to install. Now I'll have to create a database. As that is loading over there, I need a database really, so I'll click new. I'll create a database called YouTube ads over there. I just create it, and there we are. I already have my database set up, and I have this project also set up. Very good. Now we have it here, ads. So I'll open this particular folder. It's called ads, and there we are. So since I've said I'll be using Laravel admin, so I really need to install this particular package with this command, composer require ncore Laravel admin over here. This is what I really need to have in the project, right? Now I'll go to my terminal, create new. So we have Laravel admin being installed over there. Now the next thing to do is that we need to publish all the packages by Laravel admin. How do we do that? Now it's also basically so simple. It's one piece or one line of code. Let me go to version 2.0 and let me go to install. So basically it's here. We need to publish it. We need to publish all the resources with PHP artisan, vendor publish, the provider. We have it over there, 1 2 3. So there we are. Now the next thing we need to do is to set up our database. I have my database password. You should also have your database password. And the database, I called it YouTube ads, right? So we have a root and we have my username, and with that being said, the last thing we need to do is to complete the installation with PHP artisan admin install, and I'll type it over here, and there we are. And so everything is ready, and our project is already set up. And what do I need to do next? I'll need to serve this application. I need to serve this application with PHP artisan serve. Now, as opposed to you being told that you have to install it in the, if you're using WAMP server, you have to install it in the www folder. It doesn't have to be like that. With Laravel, you can install it anywhere. The same for PHP projects. You can install them actually anywhere, as long as you create a server over the same with PHP -s, and you create a particular URL over there with 127.0.0 plus a port. It will work well. You don't have to install everything in where your server is, particularly for this case in your laptop. So we have it over there, and there we are. And if I need to check where the project is /admin, and we have Laravel admin over here. And if I log in, there we are, we have the project ready. Now there are some things I don't like over here, and I really need to change them. One is the title over here. Now how do I change everything? Some of the things. Now Laravel admin comes with a configuration file over here, so you can change pretty much everything. For this case, I need to change the name called classic ads. The same for this place here, I'll just call it classic ads. Right, since I don't have a, okay, I'll add a logo later, and I'll show you how to add a logo. A logo mini classic ads, that is CA. And there we are. The next thing I probably need to change, I can also change the title to administrator, though I'm not interested in it right now. Okay, so let's come over here. The color, the skin, I'll go with I don't know which color to go with. Let me look for black. It doesn't look bad. And also the last thing is here, I don't need it to collapse, so I'll remove this particular collapse over here. And we have several over here. You can test them out for the layout. You have box, you have layout, top nav, plus the others that are over there. And if I refresh, boom, now it's good. I think everything is good. Now the collapse looks like this, and I don't like it when it comes like this by default. I just like it when it comes like this. So there we are. Now with our project ready, we need to start working on this particular project. Now with everything ready, we need to work on this project. And with that being said, let's dig in now. Now first of all, if you check on let me check on these classic ads. The first thing you'll notice is that we'll have an image and the name of that particular category based on the category. That is the same case for this template we have here. We have electronics and we have a name for the electronics. Don't worry about the number of ads. This is based on the ads table actually. Now, what do? We need to create a database called maybe categories, and we'll have category image and a category name, which is similar to both of them. Now, how do we do that? Now, it's so quite simple. Number one, let's create a category here, and let's give this menu category. And for the icons, I'm not good with the icons, but I think that will be a good icon for that. And let's give the URI. Now I'll tell you how to get the URI. Let's submit. So let me put it number 2 over there. And the next thing we probably need to do is let's create a database, right? So let's create a model and it will create a migration for us. So PHP artisan, we'll make a model, let's call it category, right? And we'll have a migration over the same. So it's creating a categories table. Now where do we get it? We go to database, migrations, and we have create categories over here. So as I said, we have categories. So we have a table, we'll have a string, and number 1, we have a category name. I'll just leave it as a name. And number 2, we also have another one. We call it, how do we call it? We call it, we have a name, we also have an image, right? So for every category, we have a category name and an image. Okay, good. Now the next thing we need to do, let's create a migration. So PHP artisan make, okay, migrate. So we've already migrated, and if you come to our database YouTube ads, you'll check, and we have a categories table here, right? So we have a category name and an image. Let's create a controller, that is Laravel admin controller. So if you create a controller, it should appear here. Actually, it should appear here as opposed to the controllers that appear here, since we are using Laravel admin to create it. So we'll have PHP artisan admin make. So let's call it categories controller or category controller, and we have a model that it needs to map to. Basically, don't do whatever I'm doing over here next. This is basically my keyboard configurations. It has nothing to do with you. I just closed everything, so it's still bringing me errors. Okay, so PHP artisan admin make. So we have category controller, and what do we need next? We need to map it to a particular model, and the model name is category. Good. So category. Good. Now the model doesn't exist. Yeah, it's actually app models. Sorry for that. And there we are. So we need to pick this particular line and add it in our routes. And it's already telling you that app admin routes.php. That is app admin, and then we have routes.php. So this is categories, right? Now you are asking, or maybe wondering, how did I get that particular URL? Here it is. I know it by default, it will be categories. Okay, so if I go to my project and refresh over here, and I decide to click on category, my category will come through. Right, now what do we need to do? We need to create categories, and for that case I'll create maybe 5 categories. You can create more and have something more and more over there in your system. Now how do we create the categories? Now it's quite simple. You come over here and you'll basically have to click new so that you can add the categories. Now there's an issue that comes up when you want to install any file. If you want to upload any file which says disk admin is not configured, please add disk in config file systems.php. Now that is also quite simple. If you have checked the previous series, you'll know the solution to that problem. So we have file systems which is in config over here, and we'll create admin. So we'll have admin, and for admin what do we need to have? Basically the syntax is almost more or less the same as this one. They look more or less the same as this one, with a slight difference that I want to make. So the driver is local because I'm uploading it in the system itself, and we'll also have the root. Now this is where my difference comes in. I'll not be using the storage path, but basically I'll be using the public path. Now this public path only means that they'll be actually appearing in this public folder over here, and there'll be folder called uploads that they will, I want to create a folder called uploads that they'll particularly be visible from that point. So we have uploads, and how do I access it? Now there are 2 ways you can add this particular code. I need env app url or config app.url. So I have env app url, and so basically I don't have storage because I've decided that I'll be using the uploads folder, right? So I'll have uploads. Okay, now lastly we need to set visibility to public. Good. Now everything is fine. Local uploads, env app url uploads. This env app url actually reads from this .env. Now don't be confused. App URL, it will read this particular URL, which I really need to change currently because I'm using this particular URL over here as the root URL. So I'll have that over there, right? Okay. Everything looks good and the file system looks good. Now due to cache issues, I'll have to refresh this page twice. There we are. So we need to add a name and we need to add an image, right? So for example, in this case, let me Let me add electronics. I just clicked submit without adding any piece of data. That is why it is bringing an error. But by the way, you can add validations in this particular point, which I'm not going to check on currently. I'll check on later maybe. So we'll have a name. Now what's the name? Let's call it electronics. And let me just show you something that I'm talking about instead of just saying it. So if you go to admin controllers, we have this category control over here. Now if you go down to forms here, I think there's a function called required that if you call, it will automatically want you to add that particular value, so to speak. You see there's an star over here, and I can also add required over here, right? So it means they are needed. If you don't add them, then you should probably add them. You see, please fill this field, please fill this field. Okay, something like that. So we have electronics, and next we need to select an image for the same. Since I have the template, I'll just use the images from the template. Now where they have categories. Nope. Okay, I have electronics. I don't need to use that image. Let me just cancel this real quick. I have an image of electronics. Let me check the path. It's UI images suggest. Okay, UI images suggest, and then we have electronics. Good, that is what I needed. And let me submit. Boom. So we have electronics added successfully. And if you notice over here, I need an image. I don't really need this, right? So what do I need to do? I just need to go to grid, not grid, okay, grid, and then we have an image over here actually. So I'll have to add image and see what happens. If I refresh, what happens? It brings something very big. Now you can always set the width and the height of that particular image so that it doesn't appear as big as that. Now if you want to set the width and the height, you basically need to set the path. The first thing is the path, the next thing is the height, the last thing is the width over there, right? Now so we'll have something like, remember we had file systems, right? Now in the file system we had indicated that we should use env and then the uploads path for all the files that you have. Remember that? So how do we do it? So we need to set the path first. Whatever we added over there, we can use it over here. Now just to inform you, there are two ways you can do that. That is the first way you can do that, and the image will still appear. Or you can decide and use config app.url. You are probably wondering, why is this particular config? How do I use config app.url? If you check on config, there's an app file over here, and if you go somewhere, there's a URL over here. Now at first it reads from env, and then if it's not there by default, it takes this. Now I already have it over here, which is app.url. That is why it is taking this as opposed to taking the other one. Now with that being said, so everything is working as required now. So we have electronics, we have an image, and there we are. Let me add another category. Let me add food. So we have food and nutrition. Good. And let's add food and submit. What else do we need? We need automobile. I have automobile, and where is automobile? There we are. Submit. We also need something else. Let's add maybe fashion fashion, wear of fashion. Okay, I have an image called fashion. Submit. Then lastly, what do I need? I said I'll be only adding 5. Oh, properties, right? Let me add properties. And let's look for an image. Where's properties? We have properties over here, and I'll submit, right? So I have 5 categories ready and dusted, right? We can also edit the electronics one. We can also edit, so we are good to go. Let me just retain it as it. Wow, submit. Good. So what is the next thing that we really need to do? So the next thing we really need to do is that let's look at this particular ads over here. Now I'm done with the categories. Let me look at individual ads. I think this is the next thing I really need to do, right? So if I try checking on this image, one is that I have the category, and I'll only use category. Okay, so I have, and then I have the name, and then I have images as opposed to an image. I have a price. I have published will be based on timestamps. I have a category. I have a price type which can be negotiable or can be fixed price. I also have the seller type. You can be personal or business. I don't know whether I want to do this right now. Okay, I feel like doing it. I'll do it. The location is based on the user. We have the add condition: used, slightly used, old. Old is gold. That is why I'll have it. Add type: sales. I don't think I'll have this. I'll have the description. Okay. Now let's create a model called ads under migration, right? So we'll have PHP artisan make. What are we making? We are making a model called add, and with the migration, right? Good. So it will create an ads table migration. So let me go over there and check on it. So it's found in database migrations. We have ads table. Okay, so number one, we say that we need the name. It's a string, so we need the name. Number two, we need the price. Number three, we need the description. Number four, the images. Number five, let's see, what else do we need? Okay, we have the price, published, category. Oh, we need the category. So for that, I'll take category ID, right? Okay, so what else do I need? Let's see, description, a price type. So we'll have the price type. Now for this case, I'll put the default to negotiable, and basically we'll use a select. We'll put negotiable or fixed price, right? Or negotiable or non-negotiable, right? So I really need to pick this and put it next to this price over here. Let it be there. I just feel like it should be there. It's nothing big. It's no big deal over there. So we have condition also used. So we also have a condition. So it is a table. We have table. It's a string. And then we have condition. So default, by default, let's say it's maybe used. Okay. Okay, good. So there we have. What are we lacking? Oh, I've remembered something. How do we know the person who has just posted the ad without having it in our database? Strange. So we'll have a string called user ID. which is based on the user was just posted, right? So I think we are good to go. We have the description, we are good to go. So we need to migrate this. So PHP artisan migrate. So if you come here and YouTube ads, if you check on our ads table, we have everything that we need. If you don't have anything, we'll add it later then. So let me go to my, okay, we need to create a menu. But before I create a menu, let's create a controller. PHP artisan admin make, let's call it ads controller or add controller, and then we have a model which is app models. So basically we have, it's called add, right? Good. So we need to pick this and add it in our admin routes for Laravel admin. So we have app admin controller, we have ads controller, no, routes. So all ads, good. And this is particularly over here. Now this is where we need to play with basically. So we already know it's ads, and we already know here it's ads. I think I should do something here. Before I do it, let me just put this over here. So let me just create something I call list. Let me write something called list, which is basically ads list, and give it, let's let its parent be ads and list. Do I need this? I don't know. So let me just use ads because it's for ads. Good, this is what I wanted exactly. So this doesn't have a URI. Okay, no, you don't have a URI, my friend. So let me submit this. So we have ads list. Okay, let me just use capital I, and I'm not good with icons, forgive me. Let me use a car. Oh, there's no car. Why? Oh, I should search from this point. Good. So there we are. So if I refresh here real quick, we have ads and we have category. I also need to put this category over here. I think it should be here, right? So ads category, ads list, and good. It looks better. So for category, we already have it, so we need to list the ads, right? So basically you'll not be using this part in creating a new ad, but it will come in handy. I just remembered something, and for ads, we don't need anyone to be posting ads without approval, right? So basically let's create a migration. PHP artisan make migration add status to ads. Okay, so basically the reason why I've just added that is because we don't need anyone to be posting ads without approval. Just imagine people posting some stuffs that you don't even recommend in your site. So absurd. So we'll have a string, so we'll have status, right? And default, let's say it's 0 means pending. Okay, 1 means, let's say 1 means accepted, and then let's say 2 means rejected, things like that. And I'll put it after, we'll put it after condition. Okay, now let me do a migration. PHP artisan migrate, and there we are. Let me clear this. Good. So if I refresh this page, you'll notice that it's already here. So it's status we have. So that being said, I have to add status in this after condition. Okay, It doesn't come automatically based on the fact that I already created a controller previously. So I'll have to close this, and then I'll close this. So I no longer need category, so I only need these ads. Okay, so what do? We'll have to add another grid, and for now let it be a status. For now let it be a column as it is, and we'll do something about it. So it's status, that is the name, the column name, and the placeholder. Let's say maybe we'll have add status. Okay, and we'll also go to the form and add it to over there. The first part is what you have in the column in the database, and then the last part is the label, or rather, if it's not the label, you can also call it the placeholder. Okay, so default is 0. Okay, so things will change with time. So let's try maybe creating a new ad. Okay, so under new ad we need to change a couple of things. We need to starting from the user ID, the price type, because they should be select basically. The images should be multiple images. The description, we should have some text area over here. The category ID reads from categories. The condition should be a select, and the ad status should be select. That is work to be done. Now let's do it. It's not much. Let me begin with where should I begin with? Should I begin with ad status, or should I begin from top to bottom, or bottom to top? Well, it doesn't really matter. As long as you decide to start from any point, there's no problem. Okay, so what do we need to do? I'm thinking of what to actually do. Okay, I've decided, let me use from bottom to top. Okay, now here we are. Now in this form, this ad status should be a select, right? Now, so it's coming off from being an input, a normal input type of text, to something we call select, right? Now a select must have options. Okay, so I retain the default over here. I'll use it. So I'll have options, because no one wants to read 0, 1, and 2. We want to read 0. We only want to read pending. We also want to read something like accepted, or we also want to read something like rejected. I don't need to see 0, 1, 2 and 0, 1, 2. Okay, so we'll have options, and these options, what will I have? This default will come here. Now what do I need to have? I'll have 0 for pending, right? What else do I need? I also need 1 for approved or accepted, and we also said 2 is rejected, right? Let's see if there's something happening, or we are doing our own things. Something is happening, so by default it's pending. Okay, good. Let's go to the next part. It's condition. Now I have already done this. I don't need to redo it. I know what I'm doing, and there's no offense in doing this. So we have new. This will just be new. And we also have maybe let's have used. This will just be used. And lastly we have, or maybe can have, slightly used. I don't know how slight is slightly used. It can be a debate. Slightly used. Then lastly we need to have what we call old. which is old. Do we need anything else? No. Let's leave default as used. Okay, so if I refresh here, okay, things are working as expected, but not as expected because I don't have a select here. Now things should work as expected. So I have a condition here used by default. We need to input the category. So it's category ID from our database, but our placeholder need to be category. Now how do I basically add that set of data over here? How do I display the categories over here? Now I must tell you for free that if you check on Laravel admin documentation, there's some things that it doesn't say, so you have to think on your own. And it took me quite a while or some time to come up with some things. You'll never find their documentation anywhere, and you'll try checking and you'll even do some things, some solutions given, but you'll still get errors. Now how do I do this? Okay, first I know it has options, right? Basically has options. Now how do I display that set of data here? So remember we have a module called category, so we can use it over here. So use app models and we can have category, right? So from our database we can read it. Now we can read category and then all, right? But we are interested in some specific columns only. Now how do we get them? I think pluck is a good idea. So we pluck the name and we also pluck the ID. Yeah, because I think if you, okay, let's remove this and see what happens. Let me just retain this. If I refresh it, I think there'll be an error, and there we are. I expected that to happen. So we need the name and ID. Okay, good. So we have category electronics, food and nutrition, automobile, fashion wear, properties, and the list goes on and on. Let me force these people to fit this section and this section. Okay, this section, let me say it's required. You have to fill it whether you like it or not. This is the admin section. This, whatever I'm implementing here, is what I'll implement in the user side or the user section when they're posting an ad. Now we had talked about adding a single image. Now how do we actually add multiple images? Because we'll be having images that are several over here. Now this documentation is important. You can check some things like model form, like you can be checking on it and understand some things over here, some extra things. There are many things that are over here. Some I use them, some I don't use them, because that's why I don't even talk about some of them. So what are they saying? It's still loading. My net is quite down. So we use what we call multiple images, okay, for multiple images upload. So where is it? We have it here. So we'll have multiple image, right? Yes, right. So there's something I didn't quite say previously and I need to say it right now. If you check on categories, let's say you are uploading an image and you need a unique name for the image, because basically right now if I try and add this image, let me open it in new tab. If I try adding another image with the name electronics.png, there'll be an error in actually finding that particular image because it doesn't know what it will be looking for, based on the fact that I know in the database it will add something like electronics, how do you call this? We have that, it will call it something like this, or maybe something like this. I think it's something like this. Now it will never find it because in the database it's something different, and on the ground it will not, on the system it will not get it actually. Now how do we give unique names? That is also quite simple. We'll add unique over here, okay? So anytime I upload an image, it will be unique. Now we can test that. We can add to use image only. Okay, it's telling me something that I don't want to meet with its unique name. Okay, I'm humbled. I know it's an error. So new. So let's add a category, and I'll be forced to add another category and for us to see. So I ignored some. Maybe let me add hospitality. So we have hospitality. For hospitality, let me check. I have hospitality over here. Let me submit. Now I want you to notice something. If I try and open this image, initially it was called hospitality.png, but now it's uploaded with a totally unique name, and you see the name here is blah blah blah.png, and that is what should happen basically. Now that is what I need to implement in my list here when adding multiple images. So I have multiple images, and let me give them unique name. Okay, so now there's an error I'll face, and I want us to face the error together so that we'll understand better. Now leave this for now because I need us to have the error so that you can understand how to solve the error in future when it comes by. Okay, so we have a description. The description is a text area. Now I don't fancy this text area. I need to make it much more beautiful. Right now we have CK editor Laravel admin, which is over here. I've used it initially. It's so good and it's so easy to install. I'll give it a thumbs up. So what do? I want it to look something like this. Okay, so number one, they're saying composer require Laravel admin extension, CK editor, and okay, I'll just paste it here. What are they saying next is that then we need to publish it. Okay, there. What is the last thing I need to do is add it into configurations, and they're saying I should go to config admin.php, config admin.php. Towards the bottom, this is where it is. So I'll have to paste it here, right? And I'm not interested in very many things over here. That is what I really need to do basically. And what is the last thing I need to do? I need to call it here. Instead of text area, we'll be having CK editor, right? So if I refresh, moment of truth, boom, there we are. I like it now. Now the next thing we need to do is check on price type. Okay, so for price type is a select. That is what I know, and it has options. That is another thing I know. Let me move this here. So we have options, and option number one is negotiable. Let me do it like this. So I'll click here and I'll click here. So I have negotiable. Okay, not here. Yeah, so I have negotiable, and also I'll have another option, and the last option I'll have maybe is fixed or non-negotiable. It depends with what you want to name it, but I'll stick to that. I'll stick to fixed. Okay, there we are. Let me just give it a default of negotiable, right? Good. Oh, what else do we need? We need the price. We need the price. I don't care about the price right now. I don't care about the name right now. I care about the user ID because basically when suppose I want to edit this particular ad, I'll want to see there's an error. Please don't forget to terminate everything that you have. Oh, okay, it's because I already had negotiable. Okay, there's no problem. If you make mistakes, please know how to correct your mistakes. That is the secret to programming. So I'll not want to see, once I'm editing, I'll not want to see one. I want to see that particular person who has posted the ad, right? So I'll have a select, and then I'll have to use the user model. So app/models/user, right? And what else do I need? I need to use it over here. So I'll have options. So I'll have user, then I'll have all users, and I'll plug the name, or maybe I'll also plug the ID, and ID, not maybe. So what do we have? I don't need a default over here. So it's giving me nothing because I don't have any user currently. There's something I want to do that you should not do, basically, but I'm just doing it for the sake of demonstration. Let me just add a new user here. Let me say Kwati is the name, and email is Kwati. Oh, let me use my email. You can contact me through this email, by the way. Verified at just a random date today. Password. Now the password does not always look like this. That is why I'm telling you, don't do whatever I'm doing. Okay, you can do it for now for test, but after we are done with this part, we'll have to delete it. Okay, so we have a user there. So if I go to my users table, I have a default user. Again, you check the password, it's not hashed, it doesn't look like anything should be here. So if I refresh this page real quick, there's one user. Now I'm doing that for the sake of posting an ad. So I have user who is posting the ad, the name. So in the user side, they'll never see the user ID, right? And they'll never see the ad status. Okay. Don't forget, I said that there's an error that will come up with the images here, and I need it to come by so that you can understand some things better. So what do we do next? Let's post an ad. Okay, I think we should post an ad. We're in a better position to post an ad. So let's say this Quati has posted an ad, and the ad name is clean laptop, and let's say the price is 1,000 shillings. And is it negotiable? Let's say it's fixed, and let's say Quati laptop 123. Let's select some couple of images. I'll just use the random images. We have the images over there. Let's say the category is electronics. The condition, let's say it's new. The status, okay, I'm not interested. The user will never see this, so let me leave this alone. I'll not leave this because I need to see the user posting it. So and then I'll submit. Now there's an error that comes by, it says array to string conversion. Now this is an issue that comes about with uploading multiple images in Laravel admin, and they have a documentation that explains more on how you can do it and solve it, but to me it never helped me, and I found a very good way of actually doing it, being that I've done Laravel for very many years and I can quite understand some things and how to solve issues like that. Let me go to models and let me set an attribute over here. So we need to set image attributes, so we'll have a public function. Let's set its image or its images. Let me see, ads. Let me set images attribute, right? Two types of programmers. Again, I am this, if you know you know. At this attributes, now for images I want to separate them by a comma. So I'll have to, what do I do? What do I do? Okay, I need to implode, and so I need to pass a function somewhere. Okay, so let's say we have pictures. code. So I'll have to have a comma here. Now anytime I add an image, there's a format that they look like. For every set I have to find a way of getting them, right? But first let me add it. So what do? So we browse back our images, 1 2 3 4, open and submit and see what happens. The error still comes by 1 2 3 4. Okay, as I said initially, for every set there is a get. I think that is why there's the other error. So public function get images attribute. So we have the pictures or the images, and we return, it has to explode, and the point where we have a comma and we have pictures. So there we are. This is the solution to that problem. This particular thing, I thought of it for a very long time, and finally I got the solution to that problem that I had, and it will help you a lot. You'll try looking for solutions, but I don't know, you just get errors. Let me refresh this page. Looks like it has an issue with me. Test app 1000, fixed description, the images. Let me select 4 random images, category electronics, condition used. No one will see the add status. Let me submit. It's still bringing an error. Let me check again. Public function set images attribute. This is where the error is actually. Just a simple error can give you a headache, but I just got my solution anyway. So let me submit. There we are. Now if you check over here, we have images with in an array, but who wants to see this anyway? Nobody wants to see this, right? Yeah. If you check on here, you see they're separated by a comma, which is very easy to read actually. Now, since what if someone uploads 10 images over here? I don't want to see the 10 images over here, right? Because the 10 images are too big, and I actually want to preserve this space. What I want to do is that basically when someone clicks edit, you will see the images for himself instead of actually seeing the images over here. So allow me to do this. Allow me to remove, I'll go back to grid. Allow me to remove images for now at that point. Okay, now user ID, I don't need to read the user ID as user ID. I need to read this particular user, because imagine going to users table and then you have to check the ID and then you have to come back and check again. That is a lot of work. That should not happen practically. Okay, now how do we do this? This is also quite easy, very easy. You can solve it. That is why I'm delaying, because it's something you can do. Any solutions? Very many solutions to that. Okay, so what do we do? Okay, first let me begin from bottom going to up. I need created that, I need updated that. I don't know whether I need them. Okay, let them be there. Status, I need the status, but I don't need the status to be 0. I only need the status to be what I can read. Okay, I don't need it to be 0 1 2, no. So you can use using. You can check on the documentation actually. So remember here we have whatever we have here, 0 for pending, 1 for approved, 2 for rejected. That is what I'll use here. So basically I have it there. So if I refresh this page, there we are, it's pending. Let me add a label. so that it stands out. Now there's something I've been thinking of. How do I make, if it's pending or rejected, how do I make rejected to red? How do I make pending to the color that it is currently, or maybe color yellow? How do we do that? I don't have an answer to that, but I'm doing a test over the same. So we have the hard condition. This has no problem. Category ID, I need to read all the categories here. So for that also we'll be using. Now remember, initially over here we also had categories all, and then we plug some stuff over here. I think that is what we also do here, if I'm not wrong. Okay, it's bringing an error. How do we solve this error? Just a moment, because I don't need to be adding these categories one by one. So we have category ID 1, which is what I know. I think it's electronics, but I don't need to imagine that. I need to add them, and I need to see it as a name. What do we do? Okay, so what do we do? We do. Okay, let me use display. And for display, we need to have a function. And let's say it's category ID, right? So with that being said, I need to return. I need to return category, and this is based on what I find or fail. I know the probability of failing is almost next to 0 because they're selecting from a group of what I have given them. I'm actually forcing them to select from my categories, not filling their own categories. So based on category ID, and I need to get the name, right? So we need to find a fail the category ID, which is 1, and I need to specifically pick its name. Will this really work? Error, no error, it's electronics. Okay, I also need this to stand out. Let me add a label. Good, we're heading somewhere. Description, nah, I don't need to see this description over here. Price, yes, I need to see the price with maybe, let's say, the $sign or any other sign that you really need to use. So basically it's the same. Display, and then you have a function, pass price in it, and so we'll return the price with the $sign, and we return the price. Okay, I think this must work. And also for the user ID, we need to display so what do we need to have? We'll return user find or fail based on user ID, and I need to get this user's name. Okay, and I think it's also important if I have the user's ID somewhere. Okay, so basically I have something that looks like this. And closing. Is this really fine? Let's see. If it's not fine, it will shout. So I have quite user ID 1, okay, which looks good. The price is this, so let me move it here. It's fixed, and I think this looks good as far as everything is concerned. So if I try to edit, we have the user ID who was posted, this is the name, the price, and images and category the ad is used. This guy has not posted any explicit image based on the category, and I think it's good to go. Let's approve the image. Approved. So approved, it's already approved. Now this is basically what I had in mind. And I think this looks good and looks good for us, and this looks better, right? Because we have the user ID, we have the name, we have the price type, category ID, condition, add status, and there we are. What else do we need? I think the next thing we need is probably the settings. The add this logo. You can be changing logos based on events. Let's say it's Christmas, you can add some funny Christmas logo over here. Let's say it's fast Happy New Year, you can add some funny Happy New Year, Black Friday. You see things like that. We don't need to be going to the code and changing stuff like that. So we need to create a settings table for the ads, the title, the description, and maybe the contact details, including address, emails, phone number, and with that being said, let's dig in. So let's go to a database. Let's make a model and make a migration. PHP artisan make migrate make model. Sorry. So the model is going to be called add setting. I think that is a good name. Add setting, and we'll have a migration. Good. And if I refresh over here, there we are. So we have a database, we have migrations, and we have create add settings. So we have table. So I said we need the logo. Okay, very important. We'll be using it in future. We also have something like, let's say, the title. Now the title is based on this is what I'm calling the title. So let me be more specific. Home title. And what do we also need? We also need the maybe the tagline. Okay, so it's home tagline. Good. I think that is good for me. I think find your needs in our featured ads. Oh, okay. We need to also have a section for featured ads in our ad section. Is the ad featured or not featured? Okay, that is interesting. I'm definitely going to add it after these settings. So I don't need this description. I'll remove it, and let me go down, and I need the address. So we have a string and we have the address. So we also have a string and we also have email. So we also have a table, we have a string, and we also have number, right? Okay, I think this looks good for me. We can add it, right? So we have PHP artisan migrate. So the next thing is that we need to create PHP artisan. We need to create a controller, admin make. So we need to create not user controller basically, but we need to make add settings controller, add setting controller, and it has a model. We map it to a model, and the model is app slash models slash add setting, right? So there we are. We need to pick this and add it to our routes admin routes file. So it's basically app admin routes.php. So we have add settings. So what do we need to do? We need to kind of do a migration, kind of add this section to our menu. Okay, so I'll come to our menu, our admin page here, and I'll have add setting. So basically I'll just have settings, and the URL is that. Let me see if I know what I'm doing with the icons, and I still don't know what I'm doing with the icons. Let me use that. It looks good to me. So we have settings, and I'll just add settings over here and save, or maybe you can call it homepage settings, something like that. It doesn't matter really, as long as you understand the code and someone else will understand. So we have settings. So we have ID, logo, home title, tagline, and many more. So I'll create new. The logo is an image. Add settings. The logo is an image. That is number one. It's only one image. And title, tagline, address, email, number, those don't need to change basically. So for the logo, let's find some things. Let me open this image, a new tab. Images, it's images logo.png. So I browse images logo.png. I'll use this. Title, what is the title? Classic ads, home title. I'll just return whatever is here, but I'll change them later. You can rent, buy, do what. Tagline, I'll just use the same tagline. The address, let's say it's in where can I put the address? Let me say Arctic 123 Arctic. The email, let me just use my email. My phone number is +12345678890, right? So I can submit this and I have the data. Let me make the image appear. And you remember what I did initially is that very simple. You just come to the logo and just use image. I don't need to set the width and the height based on the fact that it's the only one that I'll be having there basically. So there we are. I think this looks good and we can use it in our homepage when time comes. What else do we need? I just remembered something. We need something like or maybe we need something like I'm thinking we need something like the settings, the ratings, so to speak, because for example in this particular ad it has, we also need the views, right? So let me click this particular ad and see what happens. So I need the previews and I need the reviews. Okay, so what do we need to do? Let's create a module called add reviews. Okay, add review. And for add review, what do we need for the add review? We need to have for the review, basically we need to have the user will be based on the user posting and the name and the images. We need the ratings and the descriptions, right? So the first thing we'll have is the user ID who is posting. The next thing we'll have is the ratings. We'll have to have this. We'll know how to pick from this so that we know it's a 3-star, it's a 4-star, it's a 5-star. I'll not need the quote. I'll need the description. Okay, what is he saying about this? And maybe last but not least, we'll have something like the ad ID, so that we can know which rating is given to each particular ad. Okay, so we'll have the ad ID, right? The user ID, the ad ID, the ratings, and the description. Let me put this to integers basically. So let me do my migration. PHP artisan. In case you are wondering, this is based on the timestamp. This date created is based on the timestamp. Okay, so PHP artisan migrate, and we already have it in our database. So we have add reviews. Good. So will I really be using these reviews? I think so, because I think people need to know how many people have just bought the product, or suppose one is selling at 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 what we call as a business. We need to know how many products has he sold. Are people talking about the product or not? Things like that, right? Okay. So I think that is something we can start with before, because there are other things we'll probably add, but in future, and I think that is a starting point for some things we need to use in this particular system. With that being said, I think admin is somewhere to go, and there's not much really here, but we'll add them as time goes by. Okay, I've kind of remembered something else. I said I'll add views, right? How many people have viewed an ad? So I'll have add views, PHP artisan make model add view. And how do we use this? For add views, maybe I'll read the IP address. Let me just use a string. I'll read the IP address. What else do I need to this person? And if he's logged in, I'll also need to read his user ID, which is nullable. So what basically happens is that when I need to check whether this guy has really viewed the ad or not, is that I'll have to use the IP address. Okay, there are many things I'll add in future to really know who you are. One is I'll check your IP address, and the other thing I might check is whether if you're logged in, I'll check your user ID, and if you exist in the database means I can increment the view, right? So another thing I'll have is the ad ID. There we are. So I think this looks good, and you can really use this in future. With that being said, let's look in another section, and another section I probably want us to do is that I want us to work in our front end and add some sections. Thank you.